If you didn't know, the Couch to Active 8-week experience is available in 3 unique formats. Get our online course for $99 that's independently done by you. Or do one-on-one coaching with me, which is your full VIP program to make sure you're getting it right. And brand new, the Pen Pal experience. Unique, fully pen and paper through the snail mail, you will complete the Couch to Active program. Choose the experience that will help you smile. Well, hello there, friends. It's a fireside chat today. This is the 3rd fireside chat that I have done so far since starting the Couch to Active podcast. Podcast has been going on for a couple of years now, but just this year, 2020, there were just a few times where I just really wanted to pause and take a break from our usual programming of exercise and fitness and now food and talk about life and what's going on in my life, some things I've found that have helped me that aren't necessarily relevant to the podcast, but kind of bring us closer together. And so what you can do here is, first of all, if you are here strictly for quick tips on exercise and food and mindset around all of that, this is not the episode for you. In these fireside chats, what I really do is I open the doors and windows to my life and I turn the lights on and I share a little bit more about what's going on in my mind, in my heart, with current events, with my life, with my home, what's going on. And really the purpose and the goal of it is connection, really more than anything, because right now we need connection more than anything. And also, I know that when it comes to businesses, especially a small business like Couch to Active, it's very personal. And the topics we're talking about are very personal. And context is everything. And so the more you get to know me, who I am, how much of a weirdo I am, and how crazy I am, the more you can filter what I say and really understand, like, okay, here's this, I get her, I get what's going on, and she's a weirdo like me, and we're all good. That's really it. And so I just open my mind and riff for a little bit. What I do wish is I really wish you were here with me. I really wish we were actually legit sitting around a campfire with the flames or coals warming us up, listening to, the birds or the owls in the background or something. I mean, that would be cool. That would be really cool. And maybe someday. But for now, we'll just have to pretend. Maybe I should turn some campfire sound effects in the background, huh? No. Okay, I won't go there. Alrighty. So it's been a couple months. Yeah, it's been a couple months since we've last sat down and really talked heart to heart about what's going on. And holy moly, there's a lot going on. I would say right now, of everything going on in my mind, the biggest thing that has consumed most of my time about everything going on in the larger world and political has been thinking about social media and its negative impact on the world. It also obviously has some huge positive impacts too. It's really a bipolar platform, really. You can go on and connect with people. We know this already, right? Or you can go on and see a bunch of fake news or see stuff you don't know if it's fake or not. And I've done a bunch of what I call reading up. Other people would call it research, but it's not actually research. It's just reading up on that topic of social media and how it impacts us. And I gotta say, friends, just recently, Netflix came out with a documentary that has done probably the best job of anything I've read up on about how to understand social media and its impact on us and how it creates a bubble and how we don't even realize it, but we live in this bubble in our news feed, especially since we're isolated right now, or a lot of us are, because the news feed we see is what, we'll just say Facebook, for example, but it's all social medias. They feed you this curated timeline or this curated content of what they think you would like to see, even of your friends, right? And so that's what this Netflix documentary, it's called The Social Dilemma. If you haven't seen it and you don't have Netflix, like seriously, sign up for 1 month of Netflix and watch The Social Dilemma. It's really, we're really in our infancy in understanding how this is impacting us. And part of where my passion of this comes from is at the beginning of 2020, before we knew what 2020 was going to be, I had a New Year's resolution to listen to the other people that I didn't agree with, people that I thought were wackadoodle or crazy. And so if I came across somebody that I thought was crazy or didn't agree or came up in the media as like, oh my God, how can they think that? I would actually go to that person's website. If they had a blog, I would read a whole bunch of it. If they had a podcast, I would listen to literally hours of it. Or if they had propaganda, I would read that. And I would do this for what I now call the wingers and the fringers, the right wing, the left fringe, the right fringe. I call it the wingies and the fringies, right? Because they're always going to be there. There will always be wingies and fringies. They just have a platform to be very loud right now. And really, from all of that, I discovered a couple of things. And the biggest discovery I found from really looking at all these different perspectives is, one, we are all way more aligned than we think we are and realize we are. Way more aligned. And this perceived division is exactly that. It is a perceived division. And we think we are all so much more divided, so much so that that has become our narrative, that we think we are divided. And don't let this raise your blood pressure right now, because I got to tell you, we are not as divided as we think we are. So if we are not as divided as what we think we are, then why is it that everybody thinks we're so divided? It's because of our bubbles in social media. Because we have a couple of things happening. Our social media feeds do a lot at telling us what we think the other is all about. And I got to tell you, since I've been going back and forth on all sides of different issues, looking at what they actually believe, everybody's wrong. When the right wing talks about what the left wing believes, they're wrong. When the left wing talks about what the right wing believes, they're wrong. When the Republicans say the Democrats are going to destroy the country, they're wrong. When the Democrats say the Republicans are the worst thing for the country, they're wrong. So you don't get my advice. My tip here is, do not listen to somebody who is talking about the other. If somebody says, Joe Biden believes this, and that person hates Joe Biden, or if somebody says Trump believes this, and that person hates Trump, don't believe them. Go in, find the real resources, find the real data, and you will find that we all are way more aligned than we think we are. Now, is there a lot of crazy? Yes. Is there a lot of wackadoodles out there? Yes. Is our nation fundamentally, at its core, completely broken and about to blow up? Maybe. And that maybe is because only if we continue to buy in to all these horrible, false narratives about how divided we are. Yeah. So we got some things to work through here, globally, or locally, or together, whatever. You know what I mean? We got some things to work through. But the biggest one is helping hold each other accountable for real information and really understanding each other. So that kind of brings me to the next thing that I did. Oh my gosh, maybe I did this before my last campfire. I can't remember. But I like to think about, what can I do to be part of the solution, right? That's where I like to live. That's why I started Couch to Active, because I like to think about what can I do to help help make the world a better place without relying on politics or governors or whatever, people in authority. Because I really think I can have a lot of influence where I'm at, in my home, in my neighborhood. And if everybody does that, we're good. So one of the things that I've done recently is I actually started another podcast called Listening Skills. And it's, if you go over there, it's a very, very generic website. It's called listeningskills.shop, not .com, but listeningskills.shop. And it teaches people the basic listening skills because I believe that most of our problems can only be solved if we first start listening to each other. And I know the left kind of holds on to this, like we all need to listen to each other more than others. So it's not a leftist thing at all. It's truly all of us need to listen to each other more, is my perspective. And so the listening skills talks about all the basic active listening skills. And you really should, I'll put it in the show notes. You should go check it out because within about a half hour, you can listen to all the episodes free. They're like 3 minutes each, and there's only like 12 of them. And they teach you everything about eye contact, listening to the other, posture, nodding, leaning, stuff like that. If you do just the very basic listening skills, it'll transform your life. It will seriously transform your relationships. You will learn more from people. You will learn more about people. You will understand people better than ever simply by doing these very, very basic listening skills. And here's the trick. I have discovered that since doing this listening skills podcast, one, everybody in my family listens better. And when you tell your friends you just built a listening skills podcast, all of a sudden your friends become better listeners. It spreads like wildfire. I mean, my teenagers are better listener now. My friends' teenagers are better listeners now. It's really interesting because the concepts taught are such no duh, kind of like, of course, but we just forget to practice this. And they're so simple, the concepts, that it's embarrassing to even admit that you don't have them or that you're not using them. And so people are really motivated to have the basic listening skills. So that's another thing I've been doing on the side there, listeningskills.shop. I had whole big plans to do a 200 level and a 300 level series of listening skills. What's out there right now is the 101. And as I got further along, I realized, wow, everybody is failing on the 101 listening skills, and we need to work on those first before we pretend we've got those and move on to more advanced ones. So that's a thing I've been doing. That's been fun, is the listening skills. So yeah, check it out, listeningskills.shop. And then what have I been doing to stay sane, to kind of keep things rolling? Living in the Seattle area where we're pretty well still locked down and we got a lot going on in Seattle. Holy moly. I have done a couple things. One of them is around my house. I have been doing what I call Marie Kondoing different sections of my house, just a little bit at a time. And I've been doing this not so much. Oh, let me back up. Marie Kondo. Okay. She's like the latest, greatest craze and fad in organizing your home and making it all nice and clean. And she's got this philosophy that says when it comes to the junk in your house, these aren't her words, these are mine. But essentially that says when you got, a whole bunch of crap in your house and you have something you don't want to get rid of, ask yourself, is this bringing you joy today? Is it really fulfilling a need today? And if it's not, then thank it for the time it was in your life and move it along so somebody else can enjoy it someday. So that's been really, really good for me. And it's probably a lifelong process for me because there's no way I could stand to Marie Kondo my entire house in like a week. I would go crazy. So that's really not what's a happy thing for me. But I did start with my half bath. That's where I do like hair and makeup and stuff. I have this little teeny tiny half bath. It's really cute. And I went through all my makeup and hair brushes and hair clips and product and everything, and literally just kept only what I use, only what I like, and got rid of the rest. And it felt good. And then I went to a cupboard in my kitchen, it was a couple weeks later, and completely cleaned out the cupboard in my, just one cupboard, and it felt really good. And so what I'm getting from it, for me, is less about the organization and more about that dopamine I get when something is organized. It's like, whoa, this feels good. Sunshine and rainbows are coming from this closet. It's just like, oh, feels so good. So now I've been working on my closet at home because it's small. And with COVID and the world changing, I'm looking at things in my closet thinking, I don't need all this. And so I'm recondoing that. And that just feels good. Now, here's a funny thing, though. I have a teenage boy who is surprisingly both awesome at organizing things and a slob all in one. If you have one of those, you know what I mean. So I gave him the chore of organizing the food pantry. And that kid pulled every bit of food out of the pantry. Like it was on the kitchen counter. There's cereal boxes on the kitchen counter. There is oatmeal and cans of black beans on the floor. There is like peanut butter and nut butter jars on the stovetop. There's cans of olives, like just all the pantry stuff all over. And then he organized it all. And the funniest thing is it's beautiful and you can see everything. It's awesome. But at first I didn't know where everything was because, he didn't organize it quite the way I would. And he didn't have quite the sense of what was important versus not important, the same as me. So it was really actually kind of funny for me to be like, honey, where can I find this? Where can I find that? It was just a complete like role reversal that happened. So that was a fun little thing that happened. So yeah, get creative. Think about organizing a space. Get out of your bubble. Listen to something new and different. That's what I've been doing, and it's been helping. Whew. Okay. I have another item on my list here that I thought I was going to talk about, and now I'm like, oh, I'm tempted to skip it. But it really is something that's been going on in my mind, but I'm tempted to skip it. I'm going to touch on it. Hope I don't regret this. Okay. Such an emotionally packed one. And that is, I read the book, White Fragility. Yeah. A few months ago, when George Floyd and all that started coming about and all the riots, all of a sudden in my social media feed anyway, and I'm learning to say in my social media feed, I'm seeing X, Y, and Z. And I'm learning to not assume that you're seeing the same thing as I am, because I'm just amazed. Like even my husband and I, we compare each other's social media feeds and it's radically different. But anyhow, in my social media feed, I had a few weeks where tons of people were buying the book White Fragility, posting selfies of themselves with the book White Fragility, talking about, they're so excited to read it, starting book clubs, all of it. And then all of a sudden, poof, silence. And nobody came back and reviewed the book. Nobody of those friends came back and told me how great or not or whatever the book was. And then I got curious. I was like, what's going on here? And really, I mean, I knew most of it around you buy a book and most people like the dopamine hit of buying a book, but then they never actually read the book. So I get that. That's the majority of people. But I was just really surprised at how silent it was, because there's some books like Brené Brown books where people actually read them and say, this is an awesome book. And some business books where people read them and they're like, this book was so helpful. The White Fragility book, everyone was like, I'm going to buy it. And now it's silent. So I got the audio version of the book and actually listened to the entire thing. And I'm going to do a public, on my personal Facebook page, a video doing a review of the White Fragility book because I can see why people went quiet on it, because there was a lot in the book that I think really resulted in misunderstandings of what was really going on and misunderstandings of the author's actual intent. And the author made one really, really, really big mistake in the book. And that was just the title. I mean, that alone was a mistake. And the issue of Black Lives Matters, lowercase Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, Black Lives Matter, all that. That's a real issue, and there are real things to work out and ferret out and solve for, and that's not what this book was. This book wasn't a how to actually help Black lives, how to actually help be a part of the solution, really. The book was all about how, well, let me back up here. See, this is my hesitation. You need to go to my page in a few days, and I'll do the actual full review. But the book essentially took the word racist and racism and redefined that word to be all inclusive of so much more than what we were traditionally raised to believe as being racist or racism, right? And and then she was a corporate inclusivity diversity training. There we go. Corporate diversity trainer. And she would go to corporations. She would use her own new definition that she made up of racism. And then she would call people racist. And she would say, "You're all racist." And then people would get offended. They would say, "Well, I'm not a racist." And then she would say, "Well, that's proof of your white fragility." And then they'd get even more angry. They're like, "No, this is not the definition of a racist as I know. And I was been raised for the last 50 years. This is not what we think of as racism." And she's like, "Well, that proves even further that your white fragility makes you unable to look at these issues because you just want to stay in your comfortable zone." Unfortunate, 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 because it distracts this whole redefining terms and name calling, white fragility, name calling, distracts from the real issues that we do need to solve, that we do need to give attention to. And by having somebody who comes as if they are for the Black Lives Movement, but puts out this horribly inflammatory book that makes people polarize against it, it actually does more damage than good. And it makes people it just gets confusing. So, yeah, I guess that's actually essentially my thought on white fragility there. And not also to mention that she was only talking from her own experience. She had no real research and data to back up the claim. The term white fragility was her own word she made up. And it's inflammatory. It's exactly what we don't want to be. So I was sad. I was sad reading it. I didn't even want to finish it, but I tried really hard to stay open-minded and really listen. And I asked myself, do I believe the intent of this author was pure? And I decided I can't judge that. I can't judge somebody else's intent on whether or not it was pure or not. I have a hard time imagining how writing something that is inflammatory and kind of derogative towards another group. I have a hard time seeing how that fits into a mold of somebody wanting to build bridges. And so I can't make that connection. But yeah, it was a hard book. It was a hard book to read. Would I recommend it? I would only recommend it if you really want to kind of read the first half and kind of see an example of how somebody flat out redefines a term and then goes on as if everybody's going to agree with her with how she redefined the term. So yeah. Wow, that just feels like an icky topic at all. Okay, what else? Oh, what I'm watching on Netflix. If you're looking for something to just kind of feed the heart and help you relax a little and feel the wonder and amazement of how awesome this earth is, again, Netflix, watch My Octopus Teacher. Oh my gosh. When you look at it, the cover art for it is really kind of hokey. It looks like something from the 80s. And you're like, what is this? This doesn't look very good. And it's a documentary. And yeah, no. I turned that movie on. It's just a movie, maybe an hour and a half long movie, My Octopus Teacher. And I got sucked in. It was a beautiful, beautiful tale, a beautiful story with so much depth and dimension. And at the end, you have this octopus who's like a friend of yours, you know? And so My Octopus Teacher, definitely worth watching. And I also just finished The Queen's Gambit. Oh my gosh, that was really cool. My aging mother-in-law was watching it and she loved it. And I didn't know what it was about. I thought it was another thing about, Queen Elizabeth. And I was like, I don't want to watch one more thing about Queen Elizabeth. I've seen enough. And then I found out, no, it has nothing to do with that at all. So The Queen's Gambit, a tale of loss, love, loyalty, addiction, connection, strategy, amazing, amazing little miniseries. So, all right. I did not even talk about the elections, did I? Nope, not talking about the elections. There's enough. You don't need any more from me. Whew. Okay, so what do I wish? What do I wish for you guys? Sitting around this campfire here. I wish and hope that you pause and take some time and ask yourself this question. And this is a question I asked myself, and the answer has dramatically changed my last 2 weeks. Okay, here's the question. We are still in the middle of what I will call the time of COVID and the time of 2020. We are experiencing a time in history where the history books are going to write about it. They are. We're going to go back and the history books are going to talk about this time. And in 30, 40, 50 years, our grandkids or great-grandkids, they're going to ask us. They're going to say, hey, Grandma, hey, Grandpa, what was it like in 2020? What did you do in 2020 when all this was happening? And I really spent some time thinking about, what do I want my answer to be? And 2 weeks ago, my answer was that I was white knuckling it and trying too hard to hold on to everything. I started this listening skills podcast on Topic Couch to Active. My husband has a startup. We got son at home doing school at home. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And we lost a lot of income because of COVID. And I was kind of a stress case. And I would say I wasn't a stress case, but I think my husband called me a snapping turtle once. It was all good. And so when I looked at that question, it became really, really apparent to me that what I needed to do was to look at everything on my table, all the projects, all the work, all the chores, and on top of that, caring for an aging mother-in-law. Oh my gosh, in the time of COVID. So much on my plate, on my table. And what I did is I allowed myself to essentially take my forearm and wipe the whole table clear, just knock it all on the floor, every single bit of it. And then say, okay, Lynn, what are you going to do in this time of COVID? What's going on that table? Yeah. And it took me about a week and a half to really sort it out, think it out, and work through it. But I came up with this. I decided that I was going to halt marketing efforts for both businesses and just take business that comes right to me through referrals and references, because that's a heck of a lot of work, let me tell you, marketing. And so just take business that comes right to me. I'm going to hold the listening skills 200 and 300 level. I'm going to hold some of these other little projects that I had going on. And I'm going to outsource a lot of the work I was doing in some other areas. And I was going to make my number one priority my health. Because 2020, you guys know, 2020 has been my year for getting my health in a lot better of a place. I had some health issues I really struggled with. And then it was just really tough. And then in 2020, my health issues got a diagnosis. Yeah, you're with me. Yep. And I hired a nutritionist to work with me, and everything just started getting better health-wise. But with all the stress of everything else going on, it was stalling. And so I decided the rest of 2020 was going to be my time to focus on my health and keep this podcast going, because I love this podcast. I love you guys. And it just is great. It's not as good as a real campfire, but it's awesome. And be there to help my kid who's doing school from home. Like, holy cow. Like, and I'm just really grateful. And since I made that decision about a week and a half ago, my stress level has plummeted, like very little stress. I'm sleeping better. And it's not so much that I'm doing so much less as it is that I'm able to mentally let go of all these things that I was holding on to as failures. I'm not getting this done. I'm not getting that done. I need to do this. I need to do that. I was able to just let it all float away. Now, no. I do get it. I do absolutely get it that for me to be able to do that is an amazing privilege. It's an amazing, like, lucky me thing to do. And I got to tell you, I mean, I'm 47 and I have never, ever in my life taken a sabbatical like this. Well, I'm calling it my sabbatical. Never in my life, 47 years old, never, ever taken a sabbatical to just focus on me for a while and then, keep the other things going a little bit. But, and it feels good. It feels good. And I don't feel guilty because, oh my God, I've been giving and giving and giving for almost 30 years. And it's time for me to just take this time of 2020 and refocus. So I'm still here. I'm still podcasting. It's my favorite thing. And I hope that if you have the chance or the ability that you really think outside of the box yourself too, and really think during this time of 2020, when you look back 30 years from now, what do you want? What do you want to say you have done or accomplished or not done? Yeah, take a look at it, because that was a big one for me. That was a really, really big one. So I'm calling it my semi sabbatical. So yep, that, and keeping my eye on doing half body weight squats for the rest of my life. That's important. If you don't know that one, find the podcast called Body Weight Squat. Search for that. So anyhow, friends, center your minds, center your hands, think about what you want to be accomplishing. And gosh, golly darn it, I can't wait till we all get to see each other again in real life. Yeah. That's it. So I think my next fireside chat's going to be maybe in a month or so. If you got questions for me, let me know. As you can tell, I'm pretty much an open book. And if this was your first fireside chat, welcome to the inner circle. Okay. Next podcast, we will resume our regular programming of our little 5-minute episodes to keep you up and moving. All right. Love you, friends. Talk to you later. Bye-bye now. If you haven't been exercising consistently but always wanted to, the Couch to Active 8-week experience is a great opportunity to make you succeed. Head over to couchtoactive.com and sign up for the online course, Coaching with Lynn, or the brand new Pen and Paper Pen Pal experience today at couchtoactive.com.